Welcome to another episode of United for a Healthy Stoughton. My name is Stephanie Patton. I'm the prevention coordinator for the town. And today we are having a conversation with Dr. John Marcus. So welcome, Dr. Marcus, to the studio.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
Great. So we're going to talk a little bit about, let's start with sort of how you found yourself in the role of superintendent of schools for the Stoughton Public Schools.
My wish, my whole life. It really was. I said it at one of my interviews, and I'll repeat it, that it's something that I've been looking forward to for a long, long time, to be able to lead a community like this and share my hopes and wishes that we are continuing to grow and helping to make future leaders. Mm-hmm. It's just a great place. I'm psyched to be back.
Yep.
I was here in 1999 to 2003. I was the principal at the Hanson School. Mm-hmm. And before that, I was a camp counselor at Camp Westwoods on West Street for 15 years.
Yep.
So have really been in town for a long time, and took a hiatus across Bay Road for a while, and when this opportunity came up, I was thrilled to be able to come back to this place. I love it. Love
Awesome.
Stoughton. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yay. So welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about your vision for the district and some of the things you're sort of hoping we're going to achieve over the next, 5-10 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, it's really about what's at the core of what we do in the public schools. It's about making sure that we have students who are feeling successful, feeling ready to go, have all the tools necessary, both emotionally and academically, to be able to give back to the community. So for me, it's both the being successful while you're here in school, and then as you graduate, what perspective do you have on the world that your focus is able to, focus is really coming back to the community and giving back in some way. So that's a big vision for me, is how do we do that as a collective? And a lot of that is partnerships, so it's building relationships in any way we can. So with you all, with the police, the fire department, with the town hall, with parents and teachers, how do we bring our community together in a way where we're really supporting each other? And a lot of that has to do with trust and building trust and making sure that we're taking care of each other, and that we believe that everybody has the best in mind for the kids and for our staff and families.
Yep.
And that trust really comes from listening. It comes from communicating as best as we can. And none of us is perfect at it, so including me. I've tried really hard to communicate much more than I ever thought I could. But but you can never do enough.
Yep.
And a lot of that communication is not so much the talking, but really the listening and providing opportunities for folks to be able to come out and share their own hopes and wishes, and how we can work together in order to make great things for kids. So.
Great. And I know that I think Jeffrey was putting up some tweets and things, examples of one of the ways you communicate is with technology, which probably was not part of your vision of when you imagined yourself as a superintendent. That didn't exist, right?
No, that's funny. I think, 21st century education leaders have to use technology in the best way possible. I was a technology director for about 8 years and saw the importance in using the tools to advance the cause of supporting the community and making the educational experience for kids really strong and positive. And there are certainly ways that current technology, social media, things like that can really get in the way and lead to more negative kinds of conversations. And for me, it's how do we use that, I call it compliance karate, which is sort of take that energy that you get from something like social media, and where it could potentially come off as negative, then we use that energy in order to deflect and turn it into something positive. So it's sending out positive messages. It's opening the door for more communication in lots of different ways. And it's not so much, some of the technology that folks are used to is really one way, that we're going to tell you this, we're going to tell you that. And what I'm trying to develop are more two-way kinds of opportunities. We put out last week a interactive tool on our website called What's on Your Mind. And folks can click on that and then send me questions, concerns, whatever. So it's a direct line to be able to get to the superintendent and ask questions. And we've had dozens of people now, either with simple kinds of questions, how do I adjust a bus stop, to really complex things about diversity and how we deal with, issues of creating a more diverse staff and supporting our diverse population of students. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So, and I know that actually, diversity and inclusion is one of your things that's really important to you.
Absolutely.
And do you want to talk a little bit about how you envision, working on that and continuing to address that as a district?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's something that I talked quite a bit about in the interview process and as I've gotten to know the community, getting to know folks. And so what makes me so excited about it is that I'm not alone, that this is not, something that I'm coming to Stoughton and saying, we really need to do X, Y, and Z, that there are lots of staff members, our administrative team. My predecessor, was really, Dr. Rizzi was really, invested in this as well. So I feel like I'm carrying that torch. And now making connections with a variety of different individuals and groups in order to support both the sort of diversity among our staff and build that up, but more importantly is to become what's termed more culturally responsive. So how can we understand where our students are coming from and how do we set up our classrooms, how do we set up our schools in a way that is responsive to a variety of different ways of beings. And we do that, I think, by really paying attention, listening, trying to understand, having conversations, and then developing those partnerships, I think. So I'm excited that we have begun to make those connections and make those partnerships with a variety of different folks around town, from Joe Feaster, who does his show here at SMAC, and his willingness to support and volunteer. Dr. Lamott, who helps with, and Deborah Roberts, helped to run the SDIO, the Diversity and Inclusion Group, and Dr. Lamott, who helps us with the Fruition Scholars Program at the high school. And we're going to keep going, as much as we can in order to support our students in lots of different ways, build up that achievement gap that's still there, it's still prevalent, and how we can, ensure that that's closing for me, it's not so much about getting the ceiling higher, it's about making sure that where we're standing it continues to raise. So raising the bar and helping all of our students rise higher.
Yep.
So
excellent. And are there any other concrete examples you think of things that are new that are starting in place with this, or that you're continuing from last year that were really just great strategies and programs?
We are trying to do more outreach to a variety of different schools. So I'm a graduate of Lesley, so I'm reaching out to them and trying to get some more student-teacher opportunities for them to come by down to Stoughton. We are forming a partnership. There's a meeting actually next week at Framingham where they're trying to recruit more students of color. And we're partnering with them.
Great.
We're working with, we're trying to develop some kind of a program where we're supporting our diverse population who are interested in potentially teaching and finding ways to get them internships and other kinds of work experiences. And then support them through their college experience, so that hopefully they're coming back. So that's, I think, building capacity right here. We have amazing people and amazing students who are going to go on to do great things, and we hope that some of them go on to be teachers, and we hope that then they'll come back and become part of our community and our faculty.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, that's an amazing long-term, you know, but important strategy. I think you're right. That's a lot of what I've been reading. The solution is not so simple. It's really thinking about what is our talent pool now in our high school and what could that be like? Because we do have a really amazing and diverse student body.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of it, in terms of becoming more culturally responsive, is really looking at ourselves, looking at ourselves in the mirror and seeing where do we stand, where are our biases, and how do we accept and recognize those, and how do we then adapt and adjust to, you know, a changing climate. And we have a book club going with all of the administrators, using Zaretta Hammond's book called Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain. And it's really about how neuroscience helps us to be better at being more culturally responsive.
Oh, wow.
That's exciting. We just joined IDEAS, IDEAS, which is a diversity group that does a lot of professional development. So we're going to be working with them over the next couple of years to bring in their staff and help train us on, again, how to be more culturally responsive, how to, you know, think through the way we teach and the way we run our schools to support kids in a broader way.
That's great. So, that sounds really like some really good stuff to stay tuned and keep our eyes on. Some good stuff is coming. Awesome. Excellent. And what other kinds of things are you also thinking about for the districts? That was a big one.
I think, you know, as a big thing for me is all new superintendents have to do an entry plan through the new superintendent's induction program. You know, our mission is really to go and look, listen, and count. Those are the three things that. So looking is really getting out into the buildings and paying attention, getting out into the community, meeting great folks like you who are doing incredible work, and anybody else. You know, so it's really getting out there. Listening is part of that whole process, and providing opportunities for folks to share where they see things going well, but also where they see opportunities for growth. And then the count part is really looking at a lot of our documentation and paperwork. So what do our contracts look like? What are our, you know, the mission statement and things like that. So looking at all of that, and after doing a lot of that research is then coming back to the school committee in December or January and saying, okay, here's what I found out. So it's a great opportunity, whether it was me or another new superintendent coming in, to be able to provide that that new lens on who we are, what we're all about, and where we're heading. You know, what's our vision as we move forward, and that leads us to a strategy, to setting up some more initiatives as we discover some of the things that I'll present in that entry plan. Then how do we move forward with that? You know, what kinds of things structurally do we need to change? What kinds of financial needs do we have in order to make those things happen? And then operationally, how do we, you know, how do we adjust our practice in order to better meet the needs of our students and families? So that's a real big thing for me, is right now trying to garner as much information, feedback as possible. So we're starting next week with super suppers. So the supper with the super.
Oh, wow.
And it's just a way we're starting with the middle school. We'll do the high school and then the elementary schools, and about 30 or so people at a time just coming out to district office and hanging out with me, having pizza, and sharing their, you know, their hopes and wishes for, you know, what the district is, what they hope it looks like in 5 years. You know, so let's start making that 5-year plan now, and you know, how do we take that on?
Oh, it sounds great. So, that sounds really good. And I think it's important sometimes we do things just because that was the way we always did things. So it seems like this is a good moment to stop and go, do those things still make sense? Is that, you know, or are we just sort of in this pattern of, well, we always did it that way, so let's just keep doing it? Yeah,
and for me, that's folks who know me from the Hanson School or from other places I've been know that one of my 5 dirty words is, we've always done it that way. I hate it. So I make that very clear. Like, don't start a sentence with "well," because I always ask why.
Yeah.
So, well, if you did it that way, you have to be able to answer why 5 times.
Right.
And if you can get all the way to that 5th why and still feel strong in your convictions, then let's keep doing it. But for me, it's got to be what's best for kids. We've got to focus in on, what are we doing that's really going to support our kids in the best way possible.
Yep.
So yeah, there's not a lot of, oh, okay, yeah, you've always done it that way. Oh, okay.
Sounds good.
I think a lot just from my own growing up and my heritage and all that is I tend to question everything, and so just about everything that comes across my desk or as I'm meeting kids or teachers, I'm always like, oh, really? Tell me about that. Where did that come from? How do we,
Yeah. Well, and it feels like so much has changed between just the technology and what we know about the developing brain, and there's so much new research and information. If we just keep relying on the way we did things before, like you were saying earlier, the landscape is so different now. Who knows if that's really the right way to do it? Yeah. So that's really important. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the CAP playground. I guess we're not calling it the CAP anymore. The Halloran Park and the children's play space and the playground. And this sort of goes back a little bit to the conversation we were having earlier about sort of who we are as a community and meeting the needs. And so we had a hate incident at that playground back in August.
It was August?
I think it was in August, right? Where there were a number of swastikas, and I think it was mostly that, sort of chalked all over the playground. And I know the rec department took immediate action and cleaned all of that up. But then you took an interesting community action. So you want to talk about that?
Sure. I think it goes back to what's at our core. And in my opening meetings with the staff and at school committee, I really talked a lot about who we are, who I am at my core, and what are our values, what do we rest on. And to nobody's surprise, I would say that the community values are pretty similar to who I am as a person. And when something goes after your values, you can react by sort of, cowering and hiding away, turning your back. But for me, that was a perfect opportunity for us to, as a community, say, no, that's not who we are. We're not going to, roll over and say, oh, I can't believe it happened again. Oh, that's terrible, and sort of go negative. When I know for a fact that Halloran Park, because I drive by it every single day, is a place of love and joy and incredible diversity in all different ways, from age to culture, race, ability. It's just an amazing place. And so when I saw that, my initial reaction was, we got to counter that, because that's not who we are, and that's not what that park is all about. And so, I'm thinking, well, they use chalk to do the swastikas, so fine, we'll use chalk and do our own thing. And called up Matt Koshan at the rec department and said, hey, let's do something together. And he was amazing, and their team got together. We pooled resources and got all kinds of chalk. We brought lemonade. Bless my wife for her lemonade skills of mixing and all that. That was awesome. And then just pulled it off real quick. And it was a wonderful event. Had about 150 people there who were just coming out to say.
Here are some pictures. Great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just coming out to spread their the message of this is not who we are. That we're about kindness and caring. And so there was not only that sort of, those lasting images of, kids saying and families saying, who we are, but for those people who were there, making the connections with their teachers. Here's my principal with his family. Here's my teacher showing up. Or here are members of the family engagement group that are coming with their families. And so it was really about those connections that all of those folks were making in that moment. So there was a real huge benefit for those people who came to say, to feel that viscerally. Here's who we are, and here's what we're all about, and then to have that kind of lasting, the images.
Right.
The images themselves only lasted a couple of days because it rained, but but that experience, I think, will live on, and that message of who we are and what we're all about, and that not just that we're not going to tolerate. There's that whole we're going to stamp out hate or whatever. We're not going to stamp it out just by getting mad. We've got to stamp it out by sharing the goodness and making connections and giving love in some way. And so that was just that experience. It was here. We're going to have fun. We're going to do something great. We're going to be together.
Yep.
And that's what helps to erase the hate, not just getting angry about it. I think the negative reactions are fine, and it's important. It's then taking that next step to go back to your roots and to your values. What do we believe? If it's kindness and respect and caring, then let's do that, and that will make us better.
Yep. So. I think and the other thing that's really neat about that is that space originally was a community build, the original playground in there, which really was sort of a physical outpouring of people, showing how they cared about the community. And then as the space got redesigned and rebuilt in the last couple of years, just sort of, all of the folks who came together, there was so much collaboration around that project and really thinking about how is this going to be a space for everybody, all ages, all abilities. That I spend a lot of time down there too with my kid and just watching, kids of different ages play together and seniors using the track and, they're out walking their dogs and their little kids whizzing around with their trikes and people in the field and, and being able to sort of have all of that in one location. And even when the rules were written for that playground, I remember sitting with the director of the rec department at the time, John Dennison, and we talked about how do we construct this in a way that is positive. It's about this space is sort of belongs to all of us, and the rules are about how we take care of it, not about don't do this, don't do that. It's like what this is our space, and it's all those things that you said.
Huge kudos to you all for the amazing work that went into that park. The design in and of itself, the landscape, the structure, the accessibility, and then all of the different sort of elements that make it up, make it such a great place. As I say, every day there are little kids on the structure, there are older kids with little kids at the basketball court, there are folks walking around the track. There in the summer, it was great just to see people. They would just literally come and hang out. It's a gem.
Oh, it is. So, it really is. Yeah. And that was a product of collaborations and people talking to each other and listening to what the community really needed. And so that that was just an amazing community piece of work. So it's nice to sort of see that continue to sort of resonate. And I think that was amazing what you did there. I think you're absolutely right.
Thanks.
Thinking about how do we grow something positive? How do we grow kindness instead of just stamping out something negative? What are we building?
Right. And I think the partnerships I think is really the key to that, to the extent that by ourselves the school department can do so much. That we're an 8 to 3 sort of organization, that we've got great outreach in terms of our extended day kinds of experiences or the summer programs or vacation programs, things like that. But we're an 8 to 3 kind of a thing. And then when we make connections with other departments around town, other folks who are really invested and involved, then you start to see, those really wonderful things happen. So
right. And our families live here 24/7. So So let's talk about something fun in our last couple of minutes too. So I know that you came to Stoughton Day in disguise as the wise wizard, and played a game with some of our young people around. Maybe not just young people, trying to stump the wizard.
Actually, it was young and old. Because I had a bright orange sign that my wife made that said "Stump the Wise Knight." And so it was basically sort of a fun, a fun way for us to participate, or for me to just sort of be among the crowd and get to know folks a little bit. And it was a simple, kind of a experience that I've done in some of the field days that I've run, where taking advantage of kids who like to be thoughtful and you know, are more quizzical, or and so just pulling out the old graduation robes and saying to kids, if you can stump me, then you win a prize.
Yeah.
So ask me anything, and then, you know, I would ask them questions too. And
now, did the sign actually say that you got candy if they didn't stump you? Is that?
No, it was.
I thought that's what I had seen. No.
They had to make a choice. It was if I stump them.
Okay.
No. If they stump me, then they got one piece of candy.
Yep.
However, if they took a risk and gave me the opportunity to ask them anything, then it was two pieces. So they had to, so it was a little bit of trying to figure out if they were going to be risky or if they were going to.
Okay, so you didn't get any candy in this scenario.
No, I got nothing. Although I took a lot home, so that'll be Halloween treats.
Right. But, so what stumped you? Now I'm just curious. Like, what was a question that stumped you? Yeah.
The most common question was, "What is my name?"
What is the student's name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was going to say if they stumped you on what is your name, then we're in trouble.
That one I got. But that was a very popular one. But then some kids were asking.
That's smart, though. That's smart.
My favorite was what is the distance from the Earth to the Moon? And I think they were asking in feet or something. It wasn't, you know, your basic miles kind of a thing. So that was a great question. I was totally stumped.
Yep, that's a hard one.
That one.
Yeah. Do you know now?
So no, I don't know. It's far.
It's far. Yeah.
So,
it's a lot of feet.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that's great.
So it was fun. It was great. That was a great event at the park, and I love those kinds of things. So for me, school teaching was always about what am I going to do in the summer. So, you know, my whole career as a first grade teacher was prepping for what I'm going to do at camp. To do something crazy and fun and exciting. And so having the opportunity, you know, we're going to have an event, a field day, or you know, whatever it is, like, I'm in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Get me there. I got all kinds of weird, you know, fun stuff that we can do. So.
Yep. So you'll be looking forward to all those field days in the spring.
Absolutely.
When all the schools
That's
have
right.
them.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
I'm getting the signal that our time is up. So I really want to thank you for coming out and spending a half an hour here with us today.
Sure.
And look forward to lots of great things coming out of Stoughton Public Schools.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Great.